Welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert, and today I want to talk about my foray into resin models. I've got 3 that I've built so far. I got a bunch more on the way, and I thought that I could kind of look at the instructions and discuss what I've learned about doing this, because it is considerably different than working with hard plastic. We're using different glue, there's different prep times, and there are some concerns that come with it if you watch any of the videos about what's going on. So if you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Otherwise, we're going to dive right in. The first model I built was this Slaanesh model here. And I picked her up on accident, actually, last year. I didn't realize she'd be resin. She is this Chaos Demon. It's the Herald of Slaanesh. Let's see if I can get that to zoom a little better. There we go. And basically, this is all that it came with. Her and this. There are no instructions. Now, that one didn't matter as much because she was effectively 4 parts. These arms, her head, and her body. This one was super easy. There's these holes in the arms that fit into these little divots on her arms themselves, the biceps. So for the most part, this one was very simple to create, and it only took a few seconds. It was a great first step because you learned how to cut the pieces off the sprue. They're a lot different than doing it the normal way. So very easy, this one, but again, no instructions per se. Now, the next one I did was this Necromunda character, Lady Credo. This is the whole reason that I decided to do anything with resin, because I think she's freaking amazing. Now, this one does have some instructions, and I'm going to show them to you in just a second. This one was a lot more complicated than that one, obviously. So here we had her head, her arms were separate pieces, these little servitor guys were. Her legs had to come together, and her dress was 2 pieces. Plus we have this ribbon in the back. So all around, I thought it was going to be fairly straightforward. And especially when you look at the instructions, you will be led to believe that as well. Unlike in the other things where you have instructions that show you the 2 parts coming together and like a yellow thing that indicates where you should put the glue, resin models seem to have this. And it's basically just numbers and the model blown up like an architectural document. And then they kind of have some arrows that show you where stuff goes. But that's the extent of what you get. With this one, I made a mistake right off the bat. And that is that I put her on her base too soon, in my opinion. I did that because I just thought it would be easier to manipulate if I could set her down and she would have a way to sit. And what it ended up doing was made it to where I didn't have the flexibility to push this dress together. And as a result, the bow in the back is off just by a tiny amount. I notice it. It'll probably bother me. But from down here, while playing the game, it would be very difficult to notice. Another thing is that I did make this sword straight. When I was working with it, I heated it up. I might have to do that again because it does seem to be a little bit more bent. It should be straight. It's very easy to do that. You just take it in hot water for a few moments and then it becomes malleable and then you can straighten it out. And when it dries, it becomes hard again. So that is not a big deal. But much as I love this model, it was difficult because of that. And of course, you're using super glue. So it's a very different experience. It does set pretty fast though. Much faster than I anticipated. There was a video where the guy said, you're going to be holding it forever. You know, when you think you've held it enough, hold it again for another 10 seconds or whatever. That was only true of a few parts. Her head took a little bit. The legs didn't take much at all. And the dress was pretty easy too. So for the most part, it wasn't nearly as crazy as people made it out to be. This was not so terrible. But these instructions were not overly helpful. And it would have been nice if they would have at least mentioned something. I don't know, like, you know, don't put it on the base until the end, or I don't know, anything like that at all would have been nice, but they didn't. Finally, I built this werewolf who is a star player from Blood Bowl, and he was super fun to build. No big deal at all. Some of his parts did not fit on as easily as I had hoped. Like his head did not connect up the way I hoped it would. I thought there would be less seams on all of the parts, but that's not really the way I've noticed it so far. There were seams on all of these characters for the most part. And when I looked online and looked at some pictures, that's true of those as well. So let's take a look at the instructions for our werewolf friend. They are pretty much exactly the same. So I've got like 12 more resin models coming Friday, and I'll talk about it then and see if they're all like this. I am pretty sure they will be. I don't think that suddenly there's going to be some stellar instructions that will take this away. Now this guy, he doesn't have as many spindly parts as she did, but I will say this. This little rag that is basically his shirt, I kind of feel like they say leg, body, cloth. But if I was to do it again, I would say that it should be leg, body, and this arm, because that arm pressed right up against it, and I wasn't able to get it as flush as I would have liked. Although now at this point it looks pretty good. So maybe I'm crazy. But that said, I really enjoyed building this guy. He was super fun, and it wasn't that hard. And I thought he'd be a little top-heavy, but he seems to be pretty on there. So, all around, not too terrible. Because of Lady Credo here, I had decided that I needed to demystify resin models, especially since all of the star players from Blood Bowl are resin. Tons of the Necromunda characters that are awesome are resin, and I just needed to figure it out because I love a lot of these characters, and I needed them. And when you see the ones that I got that are coming, you'll understand. They're really freaking awesome. I dropped quite a bit on them, and I'm very excited to see them. So that will be Friday. This, as of this video being made, I'll have a whole bunch of new resin models, and I'll do an unboxing and talk about each of them, and then we'll start building them. Now, the reason I didn't do a build video for these is because even though I did say that it does adhere quicker than they tell you, it still does take a lot of time where you're just doing this. Okay. Especially for some of the more spindly parts. It got to the point where, I had to find a way to be zen about a few of them. Because while, for example, her legs took seconds and were no big deal, other parts, I was sitting here and I couldn't move because you don't want the part to slip around. So you're sitting there and I just close my eyes and try and think of something else to give it an adequate amount of time to set. Now, just as a point, I am using the Gorilla Glue gel for mine, and it seems to be fantastic. There are a bunch of options on that. I have seen people talking about Loctite as well. That's what the Warhammer store in our area, that's what he recommended. I used a toothbrush to clean all of these. Some people say that the smaller models like these guys don't necessarily need that cleanup period, but I brought them all out of the box, put them in soapy water, brushed them off gently with this, and then used clean water to rinse them, and then I just let them sit for like an hour and dry. And then I went through and prepped them by clipping them out and stuff like that. But other than that, it's really not that challenging. Although it is interesting that a lot of people do say I avoid resin as much as possible. And I kind of get it because there is a little bit of above and beyond that you have to do to get them ready. But they just look freaking awesome. And the characters that you're not going to get your hands on, like Lady Credo here, they're not going to make enough of them to make a sprue of hard plastic. And the same with these star players. They're just a little bit too, they're just too specialized. So there's just no reason for them to go to that expense. So we ended up getting a whole bunch of these like this. And frankly, if you go to Necromunda, like every time they were doing a pre-order, it had a whole bunch of expert kits. So I was happy to finally get over that fear, and now I can enjoy some of these as well. But Anyway, do you create these resin models? Have you worked with the Citadel versions? Are you playing another game that has them? I know that the Fallout Wasteland War game, I can't even remember the name of it right now, but the Fallout one I'm pretty sure is all resin too. So if you play one of those games, let me know in the comments. But anyway, this is Robert with Society Case Files, signing off.